I'm an addict. My name is Nick T. I'm going to do a chair for you now. I'm going to talk for about half an hour about our next speaker. No. I'm going to tell you how blessed we are. You know, I want to thank all the speakers at this convention, all the ones that we've heard so far and all the ones we're going to hear. But tonight we're in for a treat. You know, and it's been a treat all weekend. You know. I first met our next speaker, Mike D, in I think it was America somewhere. I'd heard him speak many days ago now, and I thought, okay, another speaker. I've heard many speakers before, you know. And I thought, wow, you know. But I had a sponsor then, and I had someone who I was reaching out to for help and so on. But I think it was a year later or 2 years later, I was kind of a little bit lost in the work somewhere that we do, that we've heard about already this weekend, and I'm sure we're going to hear some more. You know, and I was at a convention, and Mike D was there talking off a podium just like this one. And that day, what I realized was that an angel from God had been sent to touch my life, to give me wings in order so I could fly, to live my life, to learn how to live, you know, and that's a blessing. You know, we're all blessed here tonight. If you're new, welcome. If you're, you know, we're all blessed to be here. We really are. This is a treat. Mike D was talking, and what grabbed me, what held me, what got me to reach out for help was not the fact that he was talking about a relationship with God, because he wasn't. You know, he wasn't talking no relationship with God. You know, what he was talking about, and I'd never heard it before, was you don't need no relationship with God. You need a love affair with God. And I didn't comprehend that. I did that day. And I knew instinctively there and then, I have to ask this man, how do you do love affair with God? Because I didn't know. And what an awesome deal. I seem to remember, you know, I went to Los Angeles, I met with Mike. Every time I go, we hang out. Regardless of what I'm doing there, I always go and see Mike, you know, and we hang out, you know. We have fun. We do work. You know, I'm going to tell you a little story. You know, the little story was the first time I was going to Los Angeles was to a convention. And I've got Mike on the phone saying to me, you know, in the middle of this convention somewhere, we're going to find a little corner. We're going to sit down. We're going to do some work. And I thought, he's off his head. I'm there for the convention. I don't want to do no work. Thank God that Mike sat me down and did some work. You know, I knew this man carried depth and weight. I wanted it. You know, I've heard about desperation. People here who really know me. I was desperate when I got here. What held me, you know, I was once in Vegas where Mike was, and we were going to Los Angeles. And I also, we were going there for a backyard boogie dance and a marathon. And Mike D said, before we go, we're going to go and visit this treatment center, this sober living house. So I thought, okay. Then after that, we're going to go and visit another one. Then after that, we're going to pop into the CA meeting in the morning. What time we're leaving, Mike? Because this thing starts at 8 in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning maybe. He said, well, we'll be leaving at about 6 in the morning. We'll get there in time, no problem. And we go to the sober living house, spend a few minutes there. We go to another one. We spend a few minutes there. We go into the meeting. Now we're all talking and sharing in this meeting. So we're always doing stuff. But what I realized was that on our way from Vegas to Los Angeles, Mike D's got a 7-seater, and that was full. He didn't say, we're going to go and pick up anybody and take them with us. He just did it. He just did it, you know. And that, for me, I started to do the same when I came back to the UK, because I was living in the UK then. Now I live here in Holland. You know, and wow, I just saw the man do. You know, I could see. And that inspired me, you know. And I loved that, you know. I had the honor and the privilege, you know, to go to Mike D's house, and where he was having a party outside in his garden in the middle of a convention. And I went to this party outside, and there was like 150 to 200 people out there. And Mike D came over and he said, you want to go and sit next to that man over there? And I did. I didn't know who he was. That man's no longer with us anymore. Joe Hawk, you know. And I sat with this man all day long. You know, and he took me to meetings every day for a week. We went to meetings before the meeting. He introduced me to the meeting. We went for dinner after the meeting. It was just full on. You know, I learned some stuff. You know, and Mike D comes out dressed as a chef, and he grabs everyone's attention, and he said, you guys don't realize maybe, but you're all family. And I want you to hook up with one another. I want you to connect with one another, take each other's phone numbers. What I didn't know, what I realized was he touched everyone's life there in what he does, you know. And we were family. He talks about the fellowship within the fellowship. I saw it that day. Wow. You know, what a role model for me, a spiritual advisor, a brother. He likes to call a road hog. What is that? Road dog. Hog. We've done a lot. More importantly, I'm going to welcome Mike D. He's been a great friend and a privilege to know. I love you, man. So without any further ado, please, let's have a round of applause for Mike D.
Love you, man.
Love you too, man.
I got it.
You got it, yeah? Cool.
I am an addict, and my name is Mike D. I'd like to first thank my God for this opportunity once again. My sobriety date is March 9th, 1987. Heroin has not physically had its way with me in over 26 years. My sponsor said that when I speak, I need to tell you that, because somebody here does not believe in what we do. I'm going to say that again. Somebody here does not believe in what we do. You sit here with us, but you don't believe what we do. You're just here hanging out. You don't want what we have. You're just here biding time until the next one. So I'm grateful for my teachers, And I need to call them out. I need their spirits to come walk with me. So my teachers, Joe Hawk and Mark Houston, my mother, Evelyn Jackson Dolphin, my grandmother, Amanda Hamilton, and my godmother, the Reverend Luana Richardson Murphy, my teachers and my guides. I'd like to welcome them here tonight. You see, I can't do this. I don't do this. I don't wind up in Den Haag, Holland, left to my own devices. People don't call me and ask me to come anywhere. This has nothing to do with me. Thank God I eventually awoke to the fact of my life has nothing to do with me. And I ceased fighting. I brought my light with me. See, I have a light. I can be very arrogant at times. But that arrogance comes out of a knowingness as to what's happened in my life that I need to be able to claim in order to help someone. Because somebody in here tonight, you're dying. You got a smile on your face and you're dressed all pretty and you got some jewelry on and your hair is combed and all the outside is dressed up, but on the inside you're dying. You can't tell nobody though, because if you do, it might make you vulnerable. So you live in your misery, in your depression, your insecurity, and your worthlessness. And you sit with us meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. And you walk in meetings one way and you walk out of them the same exact way. Nothing's happened for you. You just hanging out. So it's a couple things I want to do. I brought my light with me tonight. I have a light, and it stays lit. I also brought the God in me to meet the God in you. And everybody in here has a God within them. And that God wants to meet the God in other people. So I want you to look around the room, and I want you to spot somebody that you don't know, and I want you to get up, go to them, give them a hug, and say, "Welcome to Cocaine Anonymous." Get up and do it. Get up and do it. Somebody you don't know, tell them hello. How you doing? You guys, don't be asking the girls for phone numbers, and you girls, don't be asking the guys for phone numbers. Thank you, sir. I bring greetings to you from my home group, which is There Is a Solution meeting of Cocaine Anonymous in Moreno Valley, California. If you're ever in LA or in the outskirts or anywhere close to LA, come see me. Come visit CALA. When you leave, you will not ever have experienced anything as magnificent as that. We have the fellowship that you crave. I'd like to thank this committee for asking me out and honoring me and honoring my life. I'd like to thank those of you that have showed up tonight to listen to a guy that you don't know from Timbuktu. You have no idea what I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to let you in on a little clue. I don't either. I just ask anytime I'm asked to be of service. And I asked somebody, I said, do they talk about God in Holland? And the gentleman, y'all want me to tell you who it was? It was Edward. I said, do they talk about God in Holland? He said, not very much. Well, from what I've heard all weekend, we've been talking about God. What the big book says is lack of power, that is my dilemma. I must find a power by which I can live, and it must be a power greater than myself. And then it goes on to say that's exactly what this book is about. It's to enable you to find a power by which you can live. So, we are going to talk about God. I'm not quite as opinionated as I used to be. Rico can attest to that. I've been knowing Rico a lot of years. Janet can attest to that. Thank you guys for being my friend. It's been my privilege to watch people grow in recovery. It's my privilege to watch my lineage expand. And my lineage in recovery goes all the way back to Dr. Bob. You need to know where you come from. I mean, that's if you're serious about this shit. If you're just here hanging out and it's a very lovely thing to do and you just showing up, then you have no interest in what we do in the program. There's a fellowship in the fellowship. It's called Fellowship of the Spirit. And there's some of us that get to live there on a consistent basis. Then there's so many that come to see us that never get the opportunity to visit. And you're missing a treat. This is an awesome life. There's no way I could have imagined when I started this journey 26 years ago with the desire not to shoot heroin again. That's all I wanted. I didn't want to stop using all mind-altering anything. Where I come from a little country called Harlem, New York. And I love Holland because y'all got a Harlem. That's where our name came from. It came from the Dutch when they came over and they brought Manhattan. And they named that little piece uptown, they named it Harlem. Well, I grew up in that little country. I call it a country because in my upbringing, Harlem was segregated. It was all black, with a number of fixed ideas that were imposed upon us by which we had to live that way. So other people thought. But some of us wasn't buying the bullshit. So we created our own way of life. Out of that, that gave us substance and stamina to stand in the midst of anything. I used to wonder what God was doing with me. I shot dope for Any heroin addicts in here? If you're a heroin addict, raise your hand. You are my people. You're my people. I love everybody in Cocaine Anonymous because it's a fellowship where we accept everybody. But heroin addicts, I have a deep love for you guys because if you made it here, you're blessed. Heroin addicts don't make it to recovery, man. That little country I grew up in, man, gave me some substance and some oomph that has carried me all through my life. That's the only way I could be standing here with you tonight. So I don't negate my experience with heroin. I don't hate heroin. I love heroin. I love some good dope, man. I'm just not willing to pay the price to mess with it no more. So before I come and I say what comes out of my mouth, I ask my Creator, you go before me. And you set me up so I can give them some good dough. Because somebody in here needs to know how to live. You need something that's going to help you to live. To the extent that cocaine or heroin or methamphetamine or pills or alcohol or whatever it is that did it for you, you need something like that when you come to see us. Because if you don't get it, you ain't staying. You ain't hanging out. If you don't find something here that hits you way deep down in here like your buddy did, you ain't staying. And when I say stay, that don't mean getting up and leave. That means sitting in here restless, irritable, discontent, blocked from really what goes on here. What really goes on here is healing. There's a major power that hangs out with us, man. And every day he begins to pour out blessings to us. If we move from a place of being willing to believe it ain't about me no more. That's my major problem. I think everything is about me. The world revolves around me. I'm selfish, I'm self-centered. Whatever you got, I want, and more. Not realizing that whatever you got, God will give me too. Maybe it ain't meant for you to have it. So I'm grateful for my teachers, man. My teachers, Mark Houston and Joe Hawk, were awesome. My ancestors that planted seeds in me, I call them seeders. In the first 10 years of my life, they seeded me with some stuff. They seeded me with the roots of what this deal is really about. This is not about drugs and alcohol, y'all. This is not about, I'm going to get loaded again. This is about, I'm going to lose my goddamn mind if I don't learn how to live life in a prosperous, healthy, and advantageous way. I'm taking me out. So we have one avenue here that can benefit the individual that's suffering. One avenue. I used to be in a mindset that it was the only avenue. Work the steps or die. If you ain't working the steps, your ass is going to hell. We only have one avenue to God here that really works. We have a textbook that has a method and a pathway to a power that recreates your life beyond your wildest dreams. The question is, do you want it? The question is, are you sick and tired of being 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 sick and tired? For real. Do you really want what we offer? I did when I finally got here. It didn't start off like that. That last treatment center was only to get another drug case from up under me. I don't know what you're doing here. I don't know who you are. I'm a real addict. I shot dope for real. And I need you to travel with me because you might not be a heroin addict, but you might be a crackhead. You might be the kind of crackhead that smokes cracks until your lips and your fingers burn up. You might be the type of alcoholic that you suck the last drop out of the bottle. I don't know who you are. What I do know is that if you sit here with us tonight, something's going on that warrants your attention. And it don't have to be the newcomer. You can have sat with us meeting after meeting after meeting, and you could have heard message after message after message, and speaker after speaker, and that hole that we live with is still there. It hasn't gone away. You have not abandoned yourself to what we really do here. Don't get me wrong, man. We have a bunch of fun, and you need to be a part of it. But there's another primary purpose to being here. And that purpose for me has turned out to be very simple, man. Will you allow me to touch you and share my light with you? Will you allow that? Will you will you allow yourself to be willing to believe that some of us have tapped in? That we're here for the long haul. We ain't going nowhere. We have found something beyond our belief system that we did not know existed. That last treatment program that I was in 1987, I went in there to get to get the cords off of my back. And I had an idea and an inkling that something was wrong with shooting dope, but nothing was wrong with smoking reefer. Nothing was wrong with a little sniffy poo every now and then. Nothing was wrong with after-hour spots. Nothing was wrong with the way I treated women. Nothing was wrong with the relationships I had with my family. Heroin was the problem. God had a whole nother plan set up for my life. He began to open doors that I knew did not exist for me. He introduced me to the anonymous programs, but he did more than that. He placed a guy in my life that I met 4 years before that treatment program that was to be my Eskimo. That had a message that had depth and weight, that caught my attention, held my attention, and had stick-to-itiveness. See, I don't know about you, man. I ain't no poop but dope fan. You can't give me no poop but weak, watered-down dope. I don't want it. If I heard Joe Blow OD'd on 117th Street and Lenox Avenue, even if I knew Joe Blow, it was God bless your soul, Joe Blow, but who'd you get that dough from? That same attitude followed me into the rooms of recovery. I wanted the meat and substance of what we do. And what we do is recover. So my life has spiraled into something that's beyond my wildest dreams, man. I don't know how I got here, but I do know there's been a God that's been alive and well all through my life that carried me here. And if you can identify with the deal of footprints, you real guys, not you poopy guys, you real ones. that it's only by the grace of God you've made it to this moment right now, and you don't have a crack pipe in your mouth or a spike stuck in your arm or a bottle up to your mouth, that you are truly blessed. You are truly blessed. Because look at this room, how many people is in here, but think about how many people are still out there drinking and using. They never get this thing. Then we have people that come to us that are looking to get this thing and don't even realize that what they're looking to get, they already have. You don't have to go looking for it. He's just waiting for you. Throughout the 12 steps, they give us promises. Every step has promises that comes with it. And we're in the middle here in these workshops, and I looked through my book, and Spirit said, you need to read this. It says on 75, it says, when we decide who is to hear our story, we waste no time. We have written inventory, and we are prepared for a long talk. We explain to our partner what we're about to do and why we have to do it. He should realize that we are engaged on a life and death errand. Clear-cut message here for this real guy. There is no middle of the road solution. There are no other options. This is about living or dying. So if you're in a place of being restless, irritable, and discontent, full of fear, insecure, you're probably dying. But if you've evolved to a place that in the midst of all that, you can find a center and find peace, you're probably living. That's what this program is about. This program is about in the midst of the storm. I don't care what's going on, man. I can go within, I can hook up with God, and I can be at perfect peace to let you or the situation be whatever it needs to be. And not judge, not find fault, not get resentful, not get angry. Be at peace with the world and the universe. Because when I'm in that other piece of it, it's valuable, worthful energy that I'm expending that's useless. So I get to breathe here, man. I get to learn some stuff about how to live. And as I move through each step, I begin to have stuff come true for me. I was talking to somebody earlier, and I said, if this stuff didn't work, man, I wouldn't still be here. They still got some good dope in New York, huh, Rico? Yeah. They still got some corners where they got some good dope. China white, too, not no tar stuff, right? Right. We China white babies. Fifth step, awesome promises, man. It says, most people approaching this way would be glad to help. They will be honored by our confidence. Anytime I do a fifth step, and I had the opportunity to do one with a gentleman this weekend, I'm honored, man, that somebody trusts me enough to share their life with me. That they trust me enough and they're willing to believe in me enough that they're willing to become naked and vulnerable with me. It's an honor. It says we pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. We don't leave out nothing. I have to do this on a consistent basis. So every couple of years, I go through all 12 steps. All 12, not 1, 2, and 3. I don't write inventory without doing 1, 2, and 3. I don't make amends without doing 1 through 8. The steps are meant to be done in order. Now, here's another little piece, man. I can't do the steps. The steps need to do me. I need to have an experience with each and every step to get to a place to see just how desperate it is and just how desperate I am that God has to be. And it hasn't changed over the years, because every time I peel one layer of the onion, here comes another one. Here comes another part of me that's in hiding. I think he does it like that because I couldn't stand all of it if it came at one time. I'd probably blow my brains out. But the awesome promises that come with the fifth step, it says, once we have taken this step withholding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Be alone. I don't know about you, man. I ain't never liked to be alone. I've always had to have somebody. I don't care how she looked or what or how far I had to go to hook up with her. I always had to have a road dog. To be alone at perfect peace, I can sit with me. I finally get to a place where I'm not appalled by me. I actually begin to like me and love me and stand up for me. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. That's what we're looking for. So I didn't know the key to what staying stopped needed. Something needs to happen in order for the addict and the alcoholic to stay stopped. We can stop. We got any umpteenthers in here? Meaning you've been to see us umpteen goddamn times. How many times? Anybody been here over and over and over and over? Don't be shy. Been through the work, been through programs over and over. And you can't seem to get what it is that you need to stay stopped. So the problem is not stopping, the problem is staying stopped. If you're like me, you need power in order for that to happen. I begin movement through the steps, and I begin to get that power. Second step says, came to believe that a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity. So if it's a power greater than myself, it means I got some measure of power. The trouble with that statement is I don't know what to do with the power. I don't know how to use it effectively. That's what the steps teach me to do. They show me how to be effective with power. And along the way, that effectiveness comes as a direct result of God allowing that power to flow through me. And I become of use in the universe as opposed to being useless in the universe. So I begin to make healthy decisions about my life. I begin to be able to get some heart to do all the stuff that I said I wanted to do. I remember in high school I took French. I should have took Spanish. I should have took Puerto Rican Spanish or something. Because I grew up with Puerto Ricans, right? So I should have took Spanish, but I took French. And I took French because I wanted to go to Paris. And I wanted to go to Paris because the French teacher was fine. So if the French teacher was fine, it meant they had fine women in Paris. So I wanted to go. Heron said, that ain't happening for you. You're not going to Paris. You're staying stuck on 112th Street and 8th Avenue for 20-some years. You're going to march when I say march. You're going to hustle when I say hustle. You're going to rob mama when I say rob mama. You're going to steal from your brothers that have done anything that you've asked them to do, they've done it. You're going to treat your loved ones like crap. I'm your master. And I stayed stuck. As a result of this program and what we do in the nucleus of recovery, I've been to Paris 4 times, and when I leave here on Monday, I'm back for a 5th time. As a result of this program and what we do in the nucleus of that. Somebody needs to hear that. Because somebody does not believe in what we do. You don't have a sponsor. You're accountable to nobody. You've never worked a step in your life. You're restless, you're irritable and discontent. You go into meetings and you're boo-hooing. The dog got fleas and the cat won't bark, and how am I going to pay my rent? And she left me. You've never gotten down to the root of what you suffer from. You've never gotten down to what we really do here, man. Lives are recreated here. You are no longer my problem. You want to go? Take your ass, go. You can no longer be my problem. Because as long as you're my problem, I'm in trouble. So I begin movement through what we really do here. It's a recreation of life. It's one avenue that if I diligently seek Him, by revealing myself to me, God shows up and He reveals Himself to you. And in the humility of what we do, we find the purpose why we've been kept alive. I don't know if you like me, but if you're a real one, there's only one reason why you've been kept alive. If you like me, I'm pretty sure you know a couple that didn't make it. They even came to see us for a while, and they didn't make it. The feeling that the drink problem or the using problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on the broad highway walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. There's only one reason why we do this. Only one reason why. 12-step talks about it. Talks about, as a result of a spiritual experience, I carry this message. That's my life. As a result of that, very young in my recovery, I was given the opportunity to carry this message, and something happened. See, when I'm carrying this message, I ain't got time to be into me and my selfish, self-centered ass. I just think I'm just the most important thing on the face of this earth. But when I'm talking to you, or I'm working with another addict or alcoholic across the table, eyeball to eyeball, I don't have time to worry about me and my insignificant self. What happens in the nucleus of what we do is that I move from being a taker to a giver. Unconditionally. And I keep referring back to me because if you like me, I always had conditions on giving you anything. Because I'm coming back for payback. I'm coming to get mine, man. You owe me. Something's happened to my life. Something's happened to somebody's life in here, and you haven't even claimed it yet. You don't know the magnitude of what's going on in your spirit. You think that the trials and tribulations and the ups and the downs and the problems, which ain't problems, by the way, are so messed up, you haven't even realized that all of those things are geared for one purpose. And that purpose is for you to carry the message. Because the reality of living life is, this too shall pass. The problem with that is, we just want to sit down and wait for it to pass. We don't want to do no work. What's the work, Mike? Abandoning myself to God. I don't want to seek him. The ironic part about it is that I'd do anything I needed to do to seek crack cocaine or heroin or alcohol. I'd go to whatever lengths I needed to get that. And other stuff. I finally begin to see that I have the capacity to be willing to believe in God because I've had gods all through my life that I believed in. But then you come see us and tell us, no, I don't believe in God. Oh, I believe in God, but he ain't going to do for me what he's doing for you. Well, that dope you bought from Joe Blow, you didn't know it'd do for you what it did for Henry, but you bought it any goddamn way. So you have the capacity to believe. You're just not willing to jump in with both feet. This is for a very particular guy. I need to stress that. Big Book talks about 3 people that come to see us. Everybody that comes to see us don't need to do this. But you probably need to find out if you do or not. You probably need to find out if you need to abandon yourself to a power greater than yourself. How do you do that, Mike? By working a thorough first step or allowing step 1 to work you. I've worked with people that came out of step 1. They were not alcoholic and not addict. They're still clean, still sober. I've worked with people that came out of step 1 and they were addict and they were alcoholic and their ass is still out there. Stayed with us for a while and have tried to get back and cannot get back and stay. This is no play toy. This is no social club. This is about being transparent and being accountable to somebody other than me, because I buy the lie about me. I feed my illness and my sickness. I'm no good for me. I'm my worst enemy. I do me better than anybody or anything else. I destroy me. And something's happened. The evolution of my recovery has taken me into areas that I said I didn't want to go there. My ancestors introduced me to spirituality. All throughout the book, they talk about spirit world. I'm going to talk about it some tomorrow in my workshop. But all through the book, they talk about the 4th dimension. 10th step talks about we have entered the world of the spirit. Did they just talk about it just to talk about it? Or is there another dimension I must learn how to live in? Do I need to learn how to live aligned with God in God's world? If I'm to be the free man and free woman that I desire to be? Or can I live on the outskirts of that? Can I be a crumb snatcher? Were you a crumb snatcher in the street? Why are you being a crumb snatcher here? Did you go for all the cake in the street? Why are you settling for a slice here? Why you don't want the whole goddamn cake? Why is it you always finding fault with your sponsor? It's always your sponsor's fault. Ain't your sponsor's fault, it's your fault. It begins and it ends with you. Why can't you finish inventory? Ain't because, oh, I can't. No, you just don't want to fucking do it. You don't want to face to be rid of what's blocking you from God. Because you want to continue to be God in your life with history that tells you that shit don't work. But you keep, God, we are the most marble-headed, stubborn people in the world. And I'm pretty sure this is not the first time you've heard this message, just in a different way. We have experiences that bring me face to face with me, and I continue to deny the truth about me. I ain't as bad as I think I am. I am not as all-powerful as I think I am. And I continue to buy the lie. Very simple program for very complicated people. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Why be in a 12-step program and not work the 12 steps? Why? I mean, what are you hanging around us for? It's a number of reasons, but does it make sense? God gave us the capacity to think. The book tells us in all areas we're probably competent and knowledgeable, except one. But we continue to buy the lie. What do you want, man? What are you doing here? Are you finished? Do you know you're finished? Are you willing to do what you need to do in order to be finished and experience what we have in the nucleus of Cocaine Anonymous? This is not a program that's tailor-made for Holland, Den Haag, Holland, or Los Angeles, California, or London, England. This is a universal movement. There's a big picture here. This is but a small part of it. There's work to be done. Watch your news. Read your newspapers. Look at what's happening in the world. We need more love. We need more peace. What is this about? This is about love, and this is about peace. This is about how can I help you? This is about what can I do for you today? But in order for me to get to a place like that, I have to be willing to say to me, Mike, what can I do for you today, Mike? How can I love you just a little bit more, Mike? That stuff Nick said, man, I don't know where that shit comes from. I didn't have nothing to do with it. It just happened. God in his infinite mercy and wisdom and love for me worked despite me. I am so grateful. I am so grateful that something happened in my life that I couldn't see that far. See, this is not about seeing. This is about not seeing. This is not about knowing. This is about not knowing. See, because when I see and when I know, I'm trying to hook it up. And I'm going to try to fashion it and shape it the way that I want it. This is about complete abandonment of self, selflessness. And we don't want to do that because it terrifies us, man. Why don't they talk about spirit world meeting at conventions and in meetings, spirit world living? Why? Because it terrifies the majority of us. Because we are creatures that want to know where I'm going. In an effort to do what? To control the outcome. So it's not surprising to me that a lot of us, we drop out the work. We drop out in step one. I don't want to see I'm powerless. I don't want to admit to myself that I have an allergy, an obsession, and a spiritual malady. I don't want to admit that to my innermost self, concede that way deep down in here, not to my sponsor, to me. I don't want to do that, because when I do that, that means I ain't all I think I am. I don't want to have to surrender to the fact of I'm at zero. I want to be somebody. I want to have the necessary power to transform my life. I want to be able to make things work. I want to be able to live on the outskirts of the program. I don't want to do what's needed to live in the middle of the herd. I get satisfied with a slice of cake because it's gotten a little bit better. Got a couple ducats in the bank. Got a little hoopty I drive around. A hoopty is a car, as a matter of fact. Got a little car I drive around in. I got an old lady, or I got a wife, or I got a husband, or I got somebody that I'm probably codependent on. I'm able to smile every now and then. Life has gotten a little bit better, and it's a Band-Aid that I put on a gaping wound. And if you know anything about Band-Aids, sooner or later they wear out. And you got to keep putting new ones on. Well, how long are you going to put a Band-Aid on it? Why don't you heal it? We have healing here. We have a process of recovery that heals the entire spirit. The spiritual malady is not about a sick spirit. It's about separation from spirit. I get separated from the life force. I get separated from what gives me breath and energy and movement and light daily. I get separated. I'm in darkness thinking I'm seeing, and I'm blind. What do you really want? When I got here and I moved through my first piece of work, when I got to the 9th step, I wanted the whole cake. I wanted what you guys really had to offer. I wanted what the process of recovery promised it would give to me. They told me if you do the work, you will have a psychic change. If you turn your life and your will over to the care of God, something will happen internally that will revolutionize your life. I became willing to believe in Brother Alton because I knew him when he was a dope fiend, clean, with numbers of years under his belt, but he was still womanizing and sticking people up in recovery. And I met him 4 years later, and he had a message in his mouth and a song in his eyes, and he was different. And he had ran into a man named Joe Hawk who had passed a message of recovery on to him that had some depth and weight. And what I heard that he said was that you don't ever have to shoot dope again, and it stuck. That's the main thing that I wanted. Out of that, a whole new world flourished and grew. 9th step hooked me, my first piece of work. 9th step hooked me the same way heroin hooked me. when I was able to complete amends in that first piece of work, my life was never the same. I was on fire. Are you on fire? If you are alcoholic and addict and you have not drank and you have not used, even if it's just for the day, your ass needs to be on fire. You need to realize that if that's what you do. See, my truth in the first step is that I'm shooting dope again, man. That's what I do. Heron knows it. Knows I'm in love with it. You ever been in that relationship where you loved her, but you know I ain't supposed to be. But I just can't get away, man. No, I ain't supposed to be with her. Arguing all the time, misunderstanding, money problems, homeless, no good for each other. You know it's ended, but you just can't end it. That was my relationship with Heron. Thank God he stepped in. Thank God he did for me what I could not do for myself. Thank God through him he gave me the willingness and kept me instilled with the power to allow the steps to work me. What I saw in step one was that I'm going to shoot dope again. What I saw in step two is that if I did not get a God of my own understanding, that I cultivated and created a love affair with that would fight Heron. When he showed up, Heron was showing up and taking me with him. I saw that. Why? Because he did it for 20-something years. And I had no defense against it. What makes me think that I'd have one now? But the piece that really caught me was that I was in God and I needed to find one. So my second step, I was able to cultivate a God that was personal to me. A God that I could identify with, that I could begin to form a love affair with. And that young man told me, GW said, you can fall in love with anything else. Why not fall in love with God? And I took him at his word, and something happened. I turned my life and my will over to the care of God. Some 24 years ago in my first piece of work, and I'm still here. I still do my recovery the same way I did it when I first got here. I still go to meetings every week, couple meetings every week. I'm in a recovery process on a consistent basis. Just finished an awesome piece of work. Pulled the covers off of my partner. See, if you're like me, you got a partner that lives in here. And he's about self-destruct. I pulled the covers off him and I gave him a name. His name is Mr. Hunt 12th Street. And that's that block I grew up on in Harlem, New York, that at the age of 9, 10, 11, I began to forge him and chip away at him. Because you might not have grown up in Harlem, New York, but you might have grew up in a part of Holland that if you didn't have heart, they was going to kill your ass. They'd step on you, walk away with you, and throw you somewhere. So I had to create this guy to be able to live in this environment. In creating him, I created dishonesty, I created deceit, I created betrayal, I created being disloyal, not being a true friend. I created phoniness. And he served me well for a long time. He helped me to live. He helped me to make it to this platform tonight. So there's parts of him as I moved through life, I needed him to live, but then I got to points in my life that I didn't need him no more. But guess what? He said, I ain't going no goddamn where. Who you think you are? You can't get rid of me like that. That's where my resentments and my my fears and my messed up relationships come from. They come from Mr. Hunt 12th Street because he don't want to let go. So I stay in the work. I continue to turn my life and my will over to a power greater than myself, that when he shows up, he steps in and says, no, this is my child. You can't have him no more. And he begins to do something with the itty-bitty committee up here. The crew. The crew that's still alive and ticking. At any given morning, any given moment, they'll shut up and say, this is the agenda for today. Let's march. And without God in full control and full command, I follow their directions. So I become restless, irritable, and discontent because you won't do what I want you to do. How dare me? Get in the club, in the club. There's a club in the club. Find out if you need to be in the club, in the club. That's those of us that are here and we ain't going nowhere. I can go to a convention any place in the world and I see Jackie and I see Phil. Anywhere in the world, I see Russell. It's people that are here, they're here, man. They've found a home, they've found a family, they've found a solution to living life. Happy, joyous, and free. Where we come from, that's some corny shit, ain't it? We've actually found ourselves to be happy, joyous, and free. Somebody said to me, good luck. Somebody else said, you okay? You ready? And I forget a couple other things, some other people. You don't understand. I have no choice in this. I cannot be ready when I'm called. My life has purpose today. The journey that I've taken these 60-something years of my life was to bring me to this point to do one thing, to shine my light, man. Me and God, we can do anything. So I fear no man, and I fear going nowhere. I walk with God. I had to learn how to live in the world of the Spirit. A couple pieces of work, and I realized in the 10th step, it says, we have entered the world of the Spirit. And I said, what's that? And Spirit said, well, that's what your grandmother and your mother used to do. Why don't you go back to some of them old teachers and have them teach you how to live in spirit world? That's what I do today. I'm a spiritual man living a human existence. I seek God first before I seek anybody or anything else. And my life is phenomenal. So whether you're old or whether you're young, whether you've been around us for a while or whether you got to us, just don't sit around, man. If you're restless, irritable, and discontent, you're restless, irritable, and discontent because that's what you choose to be. We have a solution and we have a way out. What are you doing here? Thanks for letting me share.